Hey everyone, I'm going to go over how to graph a line given the slope-intercept form of a linear equation. So let's go over a couple things before we get to the graphing part. First, let's just talk about what slope-intercept form of a linear equation looks like. So slope-intercept form, let me just write this out for you. Slope-intercept form. Okay, it's going to look like so. We'll have our y equals, change the color here, mx plus b. Now let's go over the key parts of this equation. So b is the y-intercept. Now what is the y-intercept, you ask? It's essentially the point on a graph where your line crosses the y-axis. So if that's your y-axis, that's your x, there's your line. The y-intercept is the point where your line crosses the y-axis. So you could also just think of it as when x is 0, what's y? Or you could look at it as the point 0, b, or whatever b is when x is 0. Whatever y is when x is 0. Okay, slope. Slope is basically going to be the direction and steepness of your line here. So let's make a few notes. M equals the slope. The slope is also known as rise over run. Now, what does that mean? Good question. Basically, it's the change in y over the change in x. What do I mean by that? Essentially, your change in y is how much you're going up or down from one point to another point. Change in x is going to be how far you're going right or left from one point to another. Okay. I don't know where this little guy came from. Okay. The equation for slope, if you can't simply just count on your graph, is going to be one of your y-coordinates minus the other y-coordinate, so of your 2 points here, and then your x minus your other x. So we're just finding the difference between your y's and the difference between your x's. Okay. So there's the gist of what slope-intercept form of a linear equation looks like. We're going to go over one more thing before we get to the graphing part. Let's talk about positive versus negative slope. So I'm going to draw two graphs here. We have our x and y axes. Let's say over here we have a graph that looks like a line that looks like that, and over here we have a line that looks like that. So some of you may be thinking this is pretty intuitive, but it's not intuitive for everyone. Okay, so if we want to know if it's positive slope versus negative slope, what you're going to look at is as you travel right, are we going to be going up or are we going down? So if you are going up as you go right, that will be positive. If you, as you travel right, go down, that will be negative. Okay, I hope that clarifies a few things.